Hi and welcome to Simply Balling's 2024-2025 season previews. It's that time of the year where for the next 30 days I'll be releasing a season preview for each team. In each preview there will be a quick season and off-season recap. Then following that we'll be looking at what's in store for each team. We'll be looking at some of the key questions that they have, some of the positives, some of the negatives. It will be digging deeper in some of those areas. And at the end there are some final thoughts with prediction of the standings, their floor, their ceiling, some of the playoff chances and some other fun predictions. So today we're going for the Sacramento Kings, and it was always going to be hard for the Kings to replicate what they did last season from any kind of view. The way their season came last year was just unexpected. They weren't winning any games previously. They had 8 of their 16 seasons winning less than 30 games, and they suddenly just are one of the best teams. So there was never going to be that kind of same high, that kind of feeling again. But it still seemed like it was only going to go up from there with the way, even if with the way they finished the season with a tough Game 7 loss against the Warriors. It looked like they were going to just carry on improving, carry on with the score, maybe have another playoff appearance with getting to the second round. It looked like they finally made that jump. This was the first full year of Domantas Sabonis. De'Aaron Fox looked like he was taking a leap. They had Keegan Murray looking great in his rookie season. Everything was going well for them. And it was kind of expected to see that growth be linear and just continue to develop on both ends of the floor. But then they ended up winning 2 games less. They dropped from +2 for net rating to 0.8. That went from 8th to 19th. They dropped from the best offense to around average. They went from the 3rd seed to the 9th seed, and they just missed the playoffs. So that was their season. It was kind of disappointment considering as well from where they dropped from. And come off-season time, they made this huge splash. It's a risky splash, but it was a big splash that was needed to just help them on with the offense, help them with the floor raising, just to get them into the playoffs. They went ahead and got DeMar DeRozan, and that's already an upgrade. That's from a talent standpoint. They were not going to get anyone else better from that. That in itself will help them significantly. Fit-wise and fit issues with all the concerns, that aside, that alone will just make them better. They still managed to retain Malik Monk, who has proved to be vital off the bench, especially when there's no Fox on the floor, and they drafted Devin Carter 13th overall. I'm not sure how much of their offseason addressed a lot of the needs, especially on the defensive end, but they will be better than they were last year. When you are a playing team, having more talent, even with fit issues, it will still guarantee you almost get better. And DeMar DeRozan is still that quality of a player that can raise the floor of the team significantly. So what's in store for the Kings? It's how will the addition of DeMar DeRozan look? Can they bounce back offensively? Will they continue to improve defensively as they did this year? Can Fox have another All-NBA season after a bit of a drop-off from his career high last year? Does Sabonis have another gear in him? There's Carter's rookie season, Murray's 3rd year and continued improvement, and what does the rest of the team look like? But the biggest question will be revolving around how they will integrate DeMar DeRozan. How will he look as a player, period, and how will he mesh with with De'Aaron Fox, with Sabonis, and how can all of that work offensively with 3 guys needing the ball at certain times and 2 of the players working in the same kind of area offensively. I did go through the trade in more details on my Substack at simplyballing.com, but just going through some of the overview, some of the summary of that. For the last 3 seasons with the Bulls, DeRozan has been a steady, consistent scorer, playing a lot of games, which is valuable in itself. You knew what you were getting from him on a nightly basis. He averaged over 25 points, almost 5 rebounds and 5 assists per 75 possessions, on 52% effective field goal and 59% true shooting. He shot 52% from 2 and 33% from 3, with his impact metrics being kind of decent, but over the last 3 years there has been a steady decline, especially on the offensive end. When it comes to his estimated plus minus, it went from +4 to +2 in 2023 to +2 this year. So there has been a bit of a drop off in his impacts offensively. But it's still in the 90th percentile. That's still pretty good. amongst everyone, and especially for the team that are the Kings, that outside of outside of Fox, they didn't have anyone else that can do so. They didn't have Kevin Hurt to be even at the level that DeRozan was. Murray wasn't at that level. There was no one that could create for themselves in a way DeRozan can. And the best thing about DeRozan is the consistency and the games played, because that's where he has the highest value. And that's shown in the estimated wins, where it takes into consideration with the games played, with the minutes played. That's why he had 11.6, 10.6, and then 9.0 estimated wins, all in a 93rd percentile. There's value in that through 82 games, and that's exactly what the Kings need. They needed someone through the regular season that can raise the floor of the offense of the team in general. So the first and main thing that DeRozan will provide is a significant boost in shot creation, foul drawing, rim pressure, and also being able to get just simply high good percentage shots. He had a 0.412 free throw rate with the Chicago Bulls, and jumping it to 0.452 last year. That would have been the highest for the Kings. Even in comparison to Fox, who had 0.273, Monk had 0.30, and Sabonis with 0.389. They didn't have anyone that could consistently get to the line with ease, and that's something that DeRozan will easily provide. Then there's the fact that he can also get a shot off anywhere on the court. He shot 66% within 4 feet, 51% within 4 and 14 feet, and 45% from 14 to the 3-point line. That's going to be needed, especially when it comes to just self-creation, because they had no one else on the Kings that could do that. Only 30% of his rim shots are assisted, 40% of his short mid-range is assisted, and 29% of his long mid-range. For comparison, with both Fox and Sabonis on the court, out of anyone with at least 100 2-point shots, only Fox had a 50% assisted rate, and anyone outside of Monk had over 60. So that's the one area that he's immediately going to improve. On top of that, there's this. DeMar DeRozan has been one of the better passes at the wing position, especially since the Spurs days. You can see here he's an average to above average guy. He can create shots. He can drive and make those kickouts. He can create a lot of threes as well. That's again going to be needed, and it's going to be suited exactly for what the Kings need, especially in their type of offense. He's a reliable playmaker for others. He's not just a scorer. That's why the Bulls' offense was a lot better with him than without him. It was +3 this year, then +1.2, and +7.1 in his first year. So there is clearly an impact that he has as a floor raiser. But the biggest question is how exactly it's going to be used, because the offense between the Kings and the Bulls is vastly different. The Bulls were dead last in transition frequency with 40%. The Kings were 5th with 19%. The Bulls were a heavy pick and roll team with being 3rd with 19% of the offense being as a pick and roll. Compare that to the Kings, who were 28th with 14%. The Bulls like to go to the post 6% of the time. Kings were at 3%. The Kings also blew everyone away with their handoffs with 10%. Knicks were second with 6%, so you can see how big of a priority is that handoff offense. And the Bulls were dead last at 2%. Similar to cutting, the Bulls were last with 4%, and the Kings were near the top at 8%. So there's a big difference in how the Kings ran their offense. There's more movement, there's more cutting, it's more handoffs. It's going to be a lot different to what DeMar DeRozan has been used in, how kind of offense he's played in. Even him personally, 37% of his offense came as a ball handler. For comparison, Fox was at 32%, Monk was at 30%. He also had 15% of his offense in isolation compared to Fox at 11%, and there's also 10% of his offense in the post. And Sabonis was the only player with 14%. Only 3% of his offense was from handoffs. The lowest qualifying player for the Kings was at 6%, and even Fox was at 8%. Almost everyone else was in double digits. So I wonder whether significant adjustments going to come. Is it going to be from DeRozan going to be used in more of a handoff offense, or will the Kings offense flip? Because there's a reason why they also just dropped offensively. They might need a boost offensively from someone like DeMar. They might go into that direction of using more pick and rolls, using more post ups. They might just cut down on the transition offense to get better in the half court. Also, as mentioned before, it's however way they're going to use DeRozan, it will help them with their high 3-point volume that they already go for. They already have 3 players that average over 3 assists per 100 possession for 3-point shots. They add in another one with DeMar. He averaged also 3.4 assists per 100, and that volume is likely going to up in the situation that he's going to be in. He averaged 3 assists for 3-pointers in assisting that the Bulls, that they had no shooters, they weren't prioritizing threes, and he still managed to do so. And another encouraging point with DeMar is the offense in the clutch, and in the fourth in general, where there's always going to be a need from someone to create something out of nowhere when a defense steps up. The Bulls had the 6th best offense in the fourth at 117.7, compared that to the Kings at 114.2. But a lot of it will come down to how all the 3 players will be used with another. Both Fox and DeRozan do a lot of damage off the dribble and in around the mid-range. Sabonis needs the ball to be a hub, who's also been at the top of the league in touches. Here are some of the touches tracking stats for DeRozan, Fox, and Sabonis. DeRozan and Fox, it was 64 touches for DeRozan, 81 for Fox, 91 for Sabonis. Their time of possession was 5.1 for DeRozan, 6.3 for Fox, and 3.7 for Sabonis. That's 3 different players needing to get the ball in the hands. It's 3 different players also being used differently. So how is that going to work? In what way would DeMar work with Sabonis? Because he hasn't been with a big that was used like as a hub. But the good news is the team will have a lot more weapons and options now, and better spacing to make whatever decision you want to make with DeMar. He was still effective, he was still efficient with whatever they were doing in Chicago. He's going to be in a much better position with the Kings, and that should make life easier for Mike Brown to just create a better offense, because they will need a boost in their offense. The reason for the success in 2023 was because they had the league's best offense by a good margin. Per cleaning glass, that offense was 4.6 points better than average, and that's why it didn't matter that they weren't good enough defensively. Now, the defense did improve this year, but it was only by a small margin. Whereas their offense dropped from being 4.6 points better than average, it dropped to only 1.3 points better than average. That's a significant difference because their defense didn't improve by 3 points. So there is still that gap that they lost by not being elite enough offensively. Their shot profiles and accuracy just stayed relatively the same. There's not much difference to them. The shot distribution, the efficiency, turnovers, rebounding, all are similar. And yet, with both Sabonis and Fox on the court, they had 118.9 offensive rating this year compared to 123.7 last year. If they want to have any kind of success, that needs to improve. Their offense with their best players needs to be significantly better. And that's where DeMar DeRozan can help them. One of the reasons for their offense dropping is because Fox had a worse season. He had himself a career year across the board last year, and that's why they were one of the best. They couldn't stop Fox, and he had a drop-off in many areas, especially when it comes to his shooting. His effective field goal went from 56% to 53%. His true shooting went from 60 to 57%. 2-point percentage went from 58 to 52%. 3-point shooting did improve from 32 to 37%. His shot at the rim was historic last year at 76%. That dropped to 67%. His short mid-range went from 54 to 49%. Long mid-range 45 to 38%. And pull-up from 46 to 43%. Outside of the 3-point shot, everything else went down, and that's going to matter. Because with his rim shot, he was getting anything at the rim, and he was just scoring at elite level. Then, if the defense did adjust to stop that he also had that pull-up shot at 46%. He shot in the short mid-range at 54%. So there was nothing that he couldn't do, even when the defense took away his best weapon. That all dropped this year, and if the efficiency at the rim also decreases, and when the defense counters that, there was nothing else that he could have done. And that also showed up across the play types. His isolation went from 52% for just field goal to 43%. His effective field goal went from 54 to 48%. Him in transition also decreased. He shot 60%. He shot 54% this year. His pick and roll went 51% to 48%. his handoff, that drastically dropped down from 54% effective field goal to 46%. So now the question will be, how much of an outlier was the first year compared to this year? Was it just an outlier shooting where he couldn't miss as a jumper, or was this, or can we still expect a gradual improvement compared from last year? Because that's the difference between being a top 25 and 30 player to being one of the best players in the league, which that's what he was in 2023. But there's also Sabonis, because similar to DeMar DeRozan, you know what you're going to get from him. He's been consistent. He's been doing his job as well as anyone else through 82 games. He has been an All-NBA player. He is effective. With the Kings, he's been highly efficient. He's been used as a hub. He's averaging almost a triple-double, and he plays almost every single game. He missed 3 with the Kings. That consistency and reliability is also, again, highly valuable through 82 games. That's one of the reasons why they were so successful last year. Some of his shot profiles also stood out, with 69% on 10 shots at the rim per 100 possession, only 60% being assisted. He shot 49% on 5 shots in the short mid-range, with only 57% being assisted. He's getting a lot of shots at the rim. He can get you shots in the paint. He shoots 62% within 14 feet. He shoots 63% within 10 feet. That's over 1.2 points per shot anywhere around the rim. And he's doing that through 82 games, as well as being a hub, as well as being a good offensive rebounder, and just being a playmaking hub. He's dominating the touches. He's tied with Luka Doncic for second place behind Jokic at 91. So he's like a Jokic light player when it comes to the hub, on top of what he's doing offensively, scoring himself at the rim. But I also wonder if there is anything next for him. He's been All-NBA, but can he push to be an upper tier of stars? Can he add something else to his game? Because we know what you're getting from him. He is 28 years old, so there is still a chance that he improves a lot. There's still a chance for him to be in the up tier. So I just wonder what else can he add, so that will make his game even more different to what we've seen so far from him this year. But moving on from the offense, as big of a question for them will be the defensive end, because they already did see an improvement last year. They were 25th on defense in 2023, and that jumped to 18th this year. Can that jump happen again? If they can be around average, even above average, their offense doesn't have to be top 1. They don't have to be top 3 offensively if they can have around average defense. That's a good problem to have. They already have made strides improving. A lot of it starts with Sabonis, with just being a better rim protector, just being better on the glass. Because we remember that series against Looney where he was just dominating him. On the bright side, with Fox, Sabonis and Murray, they did have a 114.5 defense, which would have already ranked 12th. That's another slight jump when the best players are on the court, and that could be good enough for them to just reach a point where a balanced team that can, combined with their offense, make some noise throughout the regular season. But another question will be, how will that defense look adding DeMar DeRozan to it? Because he's not a good defender. I'm not even sure he's an average defender anymore. So what's the closing lineup going to be that makes sense on both ends? Will those 5 players be able to get stops on their court? Who even defends the best players? Because is it DeMar DeRozan? Is it Fox? Is it Murray? Who on this team can you rely on defensively? Because I see 4 question marks. Whether Fox is an average defender or not, he is not going to be guarding the best player. Same with DeMar DeRozan. Same with Sabonis. Is Keon Ellis the only one that you can just rely on consistently defensively? Because that's what it's going to come down to with the Kings. Then there are questions for the rest of the team. Monk has been great for them in a 6-man role. Unfortunately, he did get injured near the end, but he still managed to be one of the best 6-man of the year for them. Without Fox, but with Monk on, the Kings had a 117 offensive rating, and he averaged 25 points per 75 possession on 56% true shooting with a 30% usage. So he can handle the offensive load even at an average efficiency level. And take Monk off in that without Fox as well, that offense dropped to 108. So there's clear impact that he has with the floor raising. But I also wonder how that look with DeMar DeRozan. That again brings more self-creation without Fox. They have 3 guys that can carry an offense to average levels. One fun stat is that he averaged 17 drives per 36, and he passed out on 53% of the time. He assisted on 16% of the time, which was near the top of the league. And then his drive and kicks did a lot of damage. So it was a need to bring him back. But then there's also Kevin Huerter. He had a great season last year, shooting 40% on over 11 threes, but that dropped to 36% this year. He's not really doing much elsewhere. He's efficient from 2-point, but it's not at a volume, and it's not created in a way that has a big impact. He's not a plus defender, though I did like him in the series against the Warriors, chasing Curry around. But he's also not the kind of player I see being a game changer on either end of the floor. I don't even see him as a lock for a starter. So I wonder if there are potential moves around that position. Can they be a potential upgrade, particularly defensively, that will also fit with DeRozan and Fox? Also, there's Morey. What can we expect from him? He's going to be coming into his 3rd year. He already upped his scoring. He already improved at the rim. He added a good shot in the short mid-range, going from 39% to 52%. He added more versatility to his offensive game. But can he be that kind of defender as well for them? Because now defensive load is going to be a lot more on him, with 3 other guys not being plus defenders. So a lot will hinge on him. Then there's also Devin Carter, an older rookie at 22 years old, who some Vicini mentions as an awesome defender who can switch and be a point of attack defender. So with that in mind, I probably expect him to play a lot more minutes than any rookie would, considering everyone else when it comes to the defense end. So finally, I do wonder if there are potential moves to be made to just shake things up to a certain point. Because they need to address the defense, because that's the big thing I'm worried about. So predictions, I see them around 43 to 47 wins. Their floor is a playing team. I think they made enough improvements to also be in range of the 5th seed. I think that's their ceiling. So overall, they did get better. Have they set themselves up for a guaranteed playoff spot? I don't think so. And a lot of that will come to the defense and just the teams around them being better. I don't think that matters to the team or the ownership. They don't need to be in that tier. They just need to make the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if their goals are exceeded simply by making the playoffs and making a 1st round competitive again. The move for DeRozan and the potential reward from that, I think it's enough to push them from the bottom tier of the playing teams to knock in for that 6th seed. I think I can just talk myself into the DeRozan, Sabonis, Fox trio, where offensively that would do a lot of damage. I think with what DeRozan brings and how we could look in this kind of offense, combine that together with just prioritizing some of DeRozan's strengths, it could make a lot of things work better. With that improvement offensively, being around top 10 offensive team, and hopefully banking on some of the defensive improvements carrying on, where they are around 18th, 17th, 16th range. That in mind, I could see them be at top 16. I don't know if Fox is going to bounce back to what he did previously, but I still hope for some improvements and maybe adding something new. I still wouldn't be surprised if we did see a different Fox. So overall, I think this team is likely going to have the same kind of ceiling, but they may have a close season to 2023 than 2024. It's a good, decent team, but not great enough to do any damage in the playoffs.